How are you doing today? In this video, I want to talk a little bit about an iconic video series, probably the most important video and video series to me in my life. Sprung video series was created in the late 90s and early 2000s by Alex Rankin and Milan, spasic. But what was it that cemented the video series so firmly into the culture at the time? By the way, 4 minutes for the perfect brew. To help explain just how influential this video was, I want to go back in time and share a short story with you about how I learned to fly. So in the early 2000s, my parents separated, which Alex talks about in the Ride Companion podcast as there being a strange connection there.
And I wasn't into like football and rugby that much,
Yeah.
stuff like that. Like some kids, it was like their identity, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, like, and for me, I guess skateboarding could become a little bit of my, like what I attach with and stuff. So if you want to go deeper into it, like why do kids sort of pick up on different sports? I guess, you know, I guess I was a little bit insecure from my parents splitting up and stuff like that. And I think like kids like that kind of gravitate towards, you know, those kind of sports. I think generally people don't really aren't aware of that, and like I'm a bit older now, and I kind of look back and sort of say that,
Interesting.
you know, from a more grown up, how you were when you were a kid and stuff.
We moved out from this house where I learned to ride my bike, which had a nice garden, and we moved to this village super far away, and I was devastated.
What happened there then, babes?
I pushed into the tree.
Was that deliberate?
No.
I must have been about 11 or 12 at the time, perhaps younger. I had a GT Performer, 48 spoke rims, screw-on pegs, 4 screw-on pegs, gyro. It was blue, like glitter blue, sparkle blue, with chrome rims and accents. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. So I ripped that thing around the streets, but now I'm ashamed to admit this, but I had started reading MBUK. I know. But don't worry, I was reading Dirt too, the cooler magazine. So I've been reading MBUK, the free stickers, they got me, mint sauce and all that jazz. And I was itching to get a mountain bike, but my mum, now raising me by herself, she had been raising me by herself quite a bit before. She didn't have a lot of money. So at Christmas, as a surprise, she bought me my first mountain bike. Now, not having a ton of money, she couldn't afford one of the fancy bikes that were in the magazines or like the kids rode around the neighborhood. She had to go to this kind of sketchy individual in the town, the town next to where we used to live. And she bought a used one. So, excuse me. So she bought a used mountain bike. This mountain bike was an Apollo. Now, Apollo is kind of like the crappy tire, Canadian tire bike, or in the US, I guess you'd probably call that a Walmart bike. So she got me this Apollo, and I was absolutely stoked at the time to get this thing. It was this like puke green color. It's all I can really describe it as. So this bike was probably pretty dated by that time already. Anyway, so I got this bike, and thank you, Mum, if you're watching this video. Absolute game changer. And I used to rip this bike down this little dirt path at the end of our street. Now, this little path, pretty downhill, wasn't that long though, but you could get some speed up. And I used to rip it down there on this little Apollo bike, things shaking to bits, as I'm going down there. And it had a few little tiny drops, and probably weren't even drops, they were probably like pieces of rock this big, but I felt like there were drops. So ragging it down this little path, and at the end of the path, there was a set of woods. And I didn't venture into the woods for quite some time, but eventually, you know, I plucked up the courage to venture into the woods. We go through the gate and we go up in the woods. Day by day, you know, I venture further into the woods, all the way up to the top. There's a golf course on one side and there was a field on the other. So eventually I make it all the way up to the top of the woods, and there's another gate there. So I open the gate and I'm stood at the top of this field. I didn't really realize as I was cycling up through the woods, but this field is a massive hill, a really, really, really big hill for me at the time, being, you know, yay high. So I'm like, well, I kind of want to see what's at the bottom of the hill. Like, where does this go? So I start riding down the hill. And I'm riding down the hill, you know, on my little Apollo, my puke green Apollo, and I'm thinking, come on, picking up some speed here. I mean,
I want to go down fast, don't we?
I'm really ripping down this hill. I go, oh, this is pretty crazy.
Too damn fast. I got this.
Crazy, like, what the hell, man? Oh.
Need to feel the air.
And all of a sudden, I'm about halfway down this hill, and I feel this sense of weightlessness. I just kind of drop a little bit, and I feel my stomach. You know that feeling when you're going to go down a roller coaster and you feel your stomach kind of whoop, go up a bit. Drop down into a slight hole, a slight drop like this in the hill. And I am pinning it at this point. I'm absolutely pinning it. Full throttle, whoa, drop down. And before I know it,
Everybody hang on.
I'm flying about 20 feet across this field down this hill. And I land. Whoa! And I knew from that point onwards, I wanted to do that again. Many times. So I spent the next hour pushing up the hill, riding back down, hitting the jump, pushing back up the hill again, hitting the jump. And that was it, I was hooked. That was the first time I'd ever got air on a bike. It was just an amazing, amazing feeling. And I haven't stopped doing it since. So where does this kind of lead us? Tie into Sprung. So roll forward a bit. I said this wasn't going to be a long video, but here we are again, probably another 20-minute heavy hitter. Roll the clock forward a few years. We've moved house again. Mum loved to move house. Mum and grandma both loved moving houses, renovating them. Moved house 20 times in my life already. That's why I'm so normal. And we moved into this estate, and there are kids on this estate that ride too, and they got mountain bikes, you know, ripping around the estate together. I'm not sure how it came into my possession. I can sort of recall a charity shop sticker, a thrift store sticker for my North American viewers, being on the front, like a bright orange little paper sticker they used to put on of this video. And this video was the best of Sprung. And this video was like peering into another universe, a universe that I had already started to explore and love, and had no idea that people made videos about this kind of stuff. Up until this point, I had only seen images in, you know, Ride BMX, MBUK, Dirt, Dig, all the magazines. You got to remember, this is pre-internet days. Because, you know, we didn't have internet back then. We got the lads together. We piled into my sister's tiny little room. We put the pink TV and VHS combo on, slammed the VHS in there, and we had our minds blown by the best of Sprung. And it was around that time that I also got my hands on a copy of Sprung 4.
1976. Side B is next.
Which had DMR trail strip in it. And that completely changed the game. I know I've said everything's changed the game, but really they did. I mean, building the underground was huge. That was a huge, huge game changer. Sprung, building the underground, Sprung, and Ride BMX UK, cassette, and their front teeth. Those are the ones that were the big boys. It's the first time we were exposed to like riding bikes with style, and watching those guys do tricks and flow through trails, jumps that are in a row, you know. We'd seen a little bit of that in the best of Sprung, but only really the Grotback section, which featured some very infamous jumps that I mentioned in the first video. If you haven't seen, go check it out.
Let's begin with the drum set.
As soon as we watched that section, we all looked at each other and knew that was what we needed to do. We went and raided our sheds, raided our garages, found shovels, rakes, whatever we could find, and we went off to build our first ever set of trails.
I didn't spend sort of 5 years at uni just being obsessed with bikes. I was obsessed with music culture, going out and being a young person, and then like riding was something we just did and digested, like the magazines. I wasn't like 100% ride bikes. I was like all other stuff, you know, and that's what influenced Sprung. And the same with Milan, and his whole life of experience went into Sprung.
The heady combination of unapologetic punk and funky hip hop soundtrack. Coupled with Alex and Milan's filming and editing skills that have been honed in the very, very early days.
During the 2 years in Chippenham College, I used to get the bus there like every morning. There was no bus from my village, except for one that left at like 10 to 7 in the morning. So I had to get up, and it'd be like an hour and a half on the bus every day, there and back. So it was like 3 hours on the bus every single day to go to this college, and there was no way out. So like if I wanted to go home early because there was no lessons or whatever, I couldn't. So I spent every hour at Chippenham College, and then inevitably you'd end up just messing around with the kit. Oh, I may as well finish that project then.
What did
you know what I mean? So we all did really well, you know. And it was just, you were there with the other people that were just there all the time as well. And that was because most of them didn't have that restriction like I did. They actually wanted to be there. So I was there hanging out with all the kids that wanted to be there, doing really well at this course. You had like a really good trigger zoom, like on a grip that you'd hand like this and do like E and G style. But what we did, we like wedged it in our like a rifle butt, and then used the trigger, like used the zoom finger there, and then pulled it in, and then you could look through the eyepiece to keep it real steady. And it just happened to be the perfect camera for pan and zoom filming. Right, you could just like.
Not to mention the clips of antics, debauchery, and any kind of bike shredding you can throw a stick at.
Hi, I'm Richard Cunningham, a tea bag eater. Oh. Palmer's new house. Who says mountain biking don't pay?
Get the f
out of it.
Well, unfortunately, in the state of society as it exists today, we are not permitted to experiment on human beings. Normal human beings.
Got it? Wait a minute.
Who's next? Who wanna race me on my BMX? A dirt bike, racing bike, 12 speed, 25 speed, whatever you need to succeed. Woo. Can you smell what the Sprung video is cooking?
Alex talks a little bit about how mountain biking didn't exactly have the best look in that era.
Like in the UK scene, there was there's less individuality. In America, it's different. Like, because we used to get a lot of heat from the UK BMX scene about being like mountain bike, a Little Devil video, a mountain biker getting punched, and he happened to be on a mountain bike. He wasn't a mountain biker trying to ride the trails. He was just some local old geezer who's just moaning about the trail. And I think he got punched in the video, and then this is me like condensing it down to like the minutiae of why a lot of UK BMX kiddies had attitude about mountain bikes. But you can't ignore the fact that mountain biking was full of kooks, and it was really kooky. And if you were like, I'm this cool like street BMXer or whatever, there was plenty to moan about, like British mountain biking, scene. It was really kooky. And so we did everything we could to try and include the BMXers in Sprung at every level, while showing like what mountain bikers could be or should be, or and at the time it was just slowly getting better and better.
Baby!
Yo, Editing Boyd here. Just a quick sidebar to say I can't overstate how influential this film and this video series was to me and so many other riders of the era. I could make this video easily an hour long, just going over all the little different elements that what made it so special. But the best thing you can do is go over to Alex's YouTube, Alex Rankin Films. I'll link it in the description. Also his Instagram, where he has a link where you can purchase t-shirts, Sprung t-shirts, which is super sick. You can buy the films. They're like £1 each and they're uncompressed. You can enjoy them, digital downloads. Go check that out. And of course, a huge thank you to Alex and Milan for what you created. Absolute masterpiece.
I was aware of the effect that the videos we watched had on us and our group of friends. You know, you borrow one from the local skate shop. We'd all go around a mate's house and watch it, and then go outside and just skate like maniacs or whatever, and it'd just keep you going for weeks and weeks on end. So from a young age, I was like aware of the power of the video.
And you know what? They pretty much changed my life. Sounds a bit dramatic, but if I hadn't seen those videos and been inspired by the culture and the riding and what I saw, who knows what I'd be doing today. What else is there where you're outside, in nature, working with the earth and the ground? It's all like natural, you know. You get to do it with friends. You share the same goal. It's this huge collaborative thing, or it could be a solo thing, you know. It could be a solo thing too. And then you get to use it once you're done. You get to ride it, you know. Thank you so much for the comments. Love reading them. I try to reply to every single one of them. It means a lot. Thank you. Leave a couple of these. Do a little bit of that. And lastly, shameless plug. If you'd like to support the channel, I make trails and bicycle related artwork over on the Etsy, art by alexanderboyd.etsy.com. Also, I want to say a big thank you to the Ride Companion lads. That was an amazing episode. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Loved hearing the history behind the Sprung video series. Yeah, go check out those guys, the Ride Companion. They're also on YouTube. I'll link it in the description. They put out some great stuff. And also, Ollie is one of my favorite mountain bike riders. So, win-win. We'll see you next time.